In this video, I will be silently installing Microsoft Office 365. I'm starting this video from my GitHub page, and that's because there are a few bits of information here that I will be using for this video. And I will leave the URL in the description down below. And here you can see the objectives for this video. The first one is to perform online installation for Microsoft Office. And this is when we are downloading and installing Microsoft Office at the same time. This is useful when you're preparing a single computer. And the second objective is to perform offline installation. And with offline installation, we can first download the necessary files and then perform installation later. And we can also place the installation files in a network share, and this would allow us to prepare multiple computers with the same installation files. So it's very useful if you're preparing multiple computers and you don't have a fast internet connection. And now to begin this video, first I need to download the Office deployment tool. And for that I will use the link that I have here, and this brings me to the Microsoft download page for Office deployment tool. Here I will click on download, and then I will go to my downloads folder. And here we have the executable for the deployment tool, and we can double click to install, but instead I will just use 7-zip to extract the contents. I will go inside of this folder, and in here we have setup.exe. This is the main deployment tool file that allows us to download and install Microsoft Office, and we also have few sample configuration files, but I will not be using them in this video. So I will just right click on setup.exe, I will copy this file, and I will place the setup.exe in my downloads folder, because I will be creating the configuration files myself. And I will delete the two unnecessary files that we have here. And now we only have setup.exe in here. And now to create the configuration file, I will just go back to my GitHub page. And here I have a link to Office customization tool. I will click on it. And here we can use this user interface to create the configuration file for the Microsoft Office installation. And here first we need to select the architecture. I will just leave it at 64-bit. After that, we need to select the Office edition that we want to install. And there is a problem in here because we don't see all the Microsoft 365 Office editions in the list. But it's not really a problem because we can modify the configuration file later manually with a text editor and replace the product ID that we select in here with the product ID that we want. For example, here I will select apps for enterprise, but later on I will be modifying the XML file and switching the product ID with a different one. And it's very important that you have the correct product ID in your configuration file, because if, for example, you select apps for enterprise, but you have a license for a different Office product, it will allow you to install Office. It will also allow you to activate Office with the wrong license. But after performing updates on Office, it would remove Office from the computer and then it would reinstall with the correct product ID. The problem with that is that the reinstallation is unnecessary, but also it would ignore all the settings that you make in the configuration file. So make sure that the product ID that you're selecting in your configuration file matches the license that you have. Anyways, here we need to select if we want to install Visio or project or additional products. I will leave everything blank in here. Now we need to select update channel. Here I will select current channel because I like it for my personal use. In work environments, I mainly select monthly enterprise. Then for the version, I will leave it at latest. And here we need to select the applications that we want to install. Basically, I don't need Access, so I'll turn it off. I don't need OneDrive, I don't need Publisher, and I don't need OneNote. And also I don't need Teams. You can configure this area right here however you like. Also, background service for Microsoft search in Bing. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but yeah, I don't need it. For languages, here we can select the primary language. I will select English United States if I can find it. Here it is. Then we can select additional languages, and I always recommend to select to install proofing tools. So here I will select English United States also. Then I will click on Add button. As you can see, it appeared in here. Then for the installation. And this area is very important because here we need to decide if we want to create a configuration file for online installation where we download and install at the same time from Microsoft, or if we want to create a deployment for offline installation where we can have the files on our local drive or on the network share. Basically, Office Content Delivery Network means that we're each time when installing Office downloading all the installation files from Microsoft. And if we select local source, then we're using offline installation. Well, we still need internet connection to download the installation files for the first time, and then we can place the installation files in a network share or just have them on the local drive, and then we can reuse them multiple times for different computers. And the first configuration file that I will be creating will be for the online installation, so I will select Office Content Delivery Network. And now to make the installation silent, I will click on off on the show installation for the user. Here we can select to shut down running applications, but I will be performing the installation only on new computer, so we don't care about this. Now let's click next. And here we have settings for updates and upgrades, but I will not be covering them in this video. So let's close this. Then we have licensing and activation. Here we can select if we are using user-based licensing or shared computer. Then we have a few fields for entering information about our organization. We can skip this. And then we have application preferences. I never used application preferences. I always wanted to try, but I didn't have time for that. Anyways, that's basically it for the first configuration file. Now we can click on export. Here I will select Office OpenXML formats so that my users don't get in this pop-up when opening Word or Excel for the first time. Then I will click OK. I will accept the license terms. And here I will name the configuration file to online-configuration. Then I will click on export. And that's it for the first configuration file. This one was for the online installation. Now let's modify it to be the offline installation configuration file. And for that I will go to installation. Here I will select local source, and then I will be downloading the installation files to my temp directory and then reusing them from there. I will enter temp /m365, for example. So basically this will create an M365 directory in my temp directory, and it will place all the installation files in that directory. And after that we can reuse the installation files on multiple computers. Once again, let's click on export. Then once again I will click on XML formats, and then I will click OK. Accept, and this time I will name the configuration file offline-configuration. Then I will click export, and then I will go to my downloads folder. And here now we have the setup.exe, the deployment tool, and also the necessary configuration files for online and offline installation. And like I said, I will be modifying the product ID, so I will select both of the configuration files. I will right click and I will open them with Visual Studio Code. And as you can see, it's a simple XML file. And here we have the product ID for Pro Plus Retail. Now to change it, I will go back to my GitHub page. And here I have a list of product IDs that are supported by Office Deployment Tool. And here we have this list right here. And this is very useful if you want to exclude something or install a different type of Microsoft Office edition. And in this video I will be installing Office Home Premium. So I will right click on this product ID, go back to the configuration files, and I will just replace the product ID in this configuration file and then in this configuration file. And that's basically it for modifying the product ID. And as you can see, the configuration files are very similar. The main difference is the source path that you see here in the online configuration file. Basically, this is the location where we will be downloading the installation files and then using the directory to perform the installation. And you can change it to another location, or you can use a network share, for example. Anyways, that's how the configuration files look. We can close Visual Studio Code, go back to the downloads folder, and now we can start the installation. And first I will be performing the online installation, so I will select setup.exe and then online configuration. and then I will copy both of the files. And then I will be going to my VMware workstation where I have few virtual machines prepared for this video. And I will create here a new folder. I will name it Office. I will go inside of it and I will place both of the files in here. So like I said, first I will be performing the online installation. And now to perform the online installation, we need to open the command line, and for that I will go to Start menu, search for CMD. I will run it as administrator, click yes here. Now we need to change the directory in our command line to the location where we have our files. I'll click here, copy the location, and then I will type cd, insert the location and press enter. If I type dir, here we can now see our files in the command line. Now to perform the installation, first we need to provide the executable file name, so it's setup.exe. Then we need to enter the parameter configure, /configure, not dash, and then provide our configuration file name, so it's online configuration.xml. And if I press enter, the installation is now started. If I go to the task manager, here we can see Microsoft Office 365 running and stuff is happening in the background. Anyways, while we're waiting for the online installation to complete, let's go to the other virtual machine where I will be performing the offline installation. Here, once again, I will create a folder. I will name it Office. I will go inside of it, go back to my downloads folder. This time I will copy the setup.exe and offline configuration. Then I will copy both of them and place them in here. Once again, we need to open the command line. For that, I will go to Start menu, search for CMD, run it as administrator. Once again, let's change the directory to the directory where we have our files. I will click here, copy the location, type cd, insert the location. If I type dir, we can see the files. And now to perform the offline installation, first we need to download the installation files. And to download the installation files, once again, we need to execute setup.exe, and this time instead of configure, we need to use a parameter called download and then provide the configuration file name. So it's offline configuration.xml. Let's press enter. Once again, the download started. If I go to the task manager, we can see that Microsoft Office is running in the background. So now we just need to wait a bit. And it seems that the online installation is over. If I go to my start menu, all apps, here we can see Excel, and it seems to be working just fine. For showing you anything else, I would need to activate, but I will not be doing it in the video, so let's close it. Now let's go to the second virtual machine, and it seems that the download is done. If I go to all apps, you can see that we still don't have Microsoft Office installed. But if I go to my temp directory, then we should see the folder with Microsoft Office installation files. And here it is, M365. If I go inside of it, here we have Office folder, data folder, and it has all the necessary files for the Office installation. And now to perform the offline installation, I will be disconnecting the network from this virtual machine. So just click here and disconnect the network. As you can see, the internet is down. Let's try pinging Google. You can see that it's not working right now. And let's perform the offline installation. So once again, we need to execute the setup.exe, and instead of download, let's use configure like in the online configuration, and then provide the configuration file name once again. Let's press enter, and once again we need to wait a bit for the offline installation to finish. And it seems that the offline installation is also over. If I go to my start menu, all apps, here we can see Excel. If I click on it, it seems to be working just fine. And that's basically it for this video. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. and see you in the next one.